Welcome back to Game Points. I'm your host, Matthew Ross, monitoring the the San Jose LA Kings Game 3. What a game this is, man. This is just back and forth, smash mouth type of hockey. And I just watched Jonathan Quick get essentially body checked from behind. These teams don't like each other. Every single whistle, there's some sort of fight. It's unbelievable. Just under 7 minutes remaining. 3-3 right now. San Jose versus LA. We'll continue to update you. Let's get to our next guest. He is the host of Game Time Decision, weekdays at 3 on the on FantasySportsNetwork.com. You can also check him out on the Fight Network, host of MMA Meltdown. SportsRageTV.com is his website as well, or SportsRage on Twitter. It is Gabriel Morency. How you doing?
Always a pleasure, Matt. How you doing today?
I'm good, and like I mentioned to you off air earlier today, more and more people are thanking me for having you on each week on Tuesday night, to saying it's great to hear your voice, and they look forward to it now on Tuesday. So I just wanted to pass that along.
Well, it's nice to reconnect with some old listeners and Montrealers, and I know it's an exciting time of the year in the city right now.
Yeah, what of it, huh? The big win, obviously, tonight for the Canadiens. Moving forward, does this change your opinion of their chances to advance deep in the playoffs, or is this kind of them plateauing, waiting for the Bruins to beat them?
Well, I thought that the Canadiens would beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, with Ben Bishop's injury, it made things a little bit easier for them. But, it was a great effort. We can't take anything away from the Canadiens. I don't want to spoil anybody's party this evening. Going for the sweep is pretty impressive. And if you look at the history of the Canadiens organization, when they sweep teams in the first round, they generally end up going to the Stanley Cup. And I believe in these freaky numbers. And I don't want to get too excited, but there's something about this team that, they remind me of that 1993 team, in which, they're not great, but they play good team hockey. They got real good goaltending. And they're lucky. And I think it might be one of these deals right now. You look at Tampa, they were kind of disheveled. They had the deer in the headlights. The pregame ceremonies were off the hook. They always are, but this year they just seem to be a little bit louder. And Tampa just had the deer in the headlights. Canadians keep scoring early goals. Everything just fell into place for them. And, when they won the Cup in 93, the Pittsburgh Penguins were the best team, but they lost to the Islanders. The Leafs were better than the Kings were, but the Leafs ended up losing in Game 7 to the Kings. So if you look, the Canadiens won a ton of one-goal games. There is something special about this team. But, unfortunately, the big bad Bruins await, and the Bruins aren't the Tampa Bay Lightning. There's a big difference in the quality of playoff hockey that's going to be played against the Bruins, assuming that they beat the Red Wings, which they're most likely going to. I think the Canadiens match up pretty well with the Bruins, better than anybody else in the Eastern Conference, actually, though. So, they've got a puncher's chance. They're going to be underdogs. The Bruins are going to be like minus 240 favorites or something against the Canadiens. So, the Canadiens are going to be decisive underdogs against the Boston Bruins, but they've got a shot. The Canadiens have a lot of team speed. If you remember last year, the Leafs should have beaten the Bruins, but they choked. They blew a 4-1 lead with 9 minutes left in the third period, and it was because of their speed. Kessel and all these guys and Van Riemsdyk, they were just flying past the Bruins, who aren't the fastest team. If you can throw, speed at them, you're not going to out-bully the Bruins. You're not going to out-grind them. You've got to use your speed and make the Bruins skate and take them out of their comfort zone. Detroit was able to do it a bit in Game 1, but I like the Canadiens' chances, actually, against the Bruins. I think, it would be a real good series, but like I said, Boston are going to be a hell of a lot tougher than Tampa just were. Tampa were terrible.
I know you're covering, obviously, MMA regularly, and certainly the NBA playoffs are upon us, but any other series catching your eye in hockey right now? For me, obviously, we just mentioned it at the top, San Jose LA is just riveting. Well, usually we thought it would be closer.
I both picked the Sharks last week, and the Sharks are playing great hockey. I think the Sharks are the real deal. I was most looking forward to the Shark and the King series, but to be honest, the Kings have been a disappointment. Tonight they're playing a desperation type thing because they know they're screwed if they're down 3-0 here. But I think the Sharks are going to move on. To me, it's the Chicago-St. Louis series that's sort of been the most intense. And let's be honest, the Eastern Conference kind of blows. I don't like. Let's call the Eastern Conference the AHL and the Western Conference is the NHL. So it's all cute what people do in the Eastern Conference, but Montreal and Tampa, it looks like junior hockey next to the Sharks and the Kings. Let's be honest. It really does. Everyone's smaller in the East. It's just like, oh, look at us. We scored 3 goals. And I'm not taking anything away from the Canadiens, but the Western Conference, it's like the NBA. I don't know what it is with the power in the West in professional sports, but it's the same thing, man. The Eastern Conference is like a Sun Belt Conference game. Meanwhile, the Western Conference is like it's like a Big Ten or ACC game.
Now, Gabriel, there's a big story today. I don't know if you caught it on Twitter or you saw it, but did you hear the comments of Ron MacLean about the referees tonight?
No, I didn't. I just got off the air on Sirius XM tonight, but. What did McLean say?
So basically, he said, and Elliot Friedman and PJ Stock were not happy with his comments, but essentially throwing out the idea that a Quebec-born referee should never be refereeing Canadiens games. He talked specifically about francophones. He didn't even mention a guy like Dave Jackson from Point Claire, but targeting francophone
that doesn't
referees.
Surprise me. And I saw. Listen, I had a bunch of dumbasses on Twitter the other night bitching about this. How can they have a referee from Gatineau? First off, Gatineau is Ottawa, dumbasses, all right? It's not Montreal. Secondly, I don't recall Ron MacLean crying about the fact that 3 freaking Canadian referees officiated the gold medal game in the Olympics, all right? I remember them mocking Peter Forsberg. Oh, the NHL referees are the best. Why would they complain? I was on fire that morning, and Peter Forsberg had a right to be pissed. I bet on Canada. I didn't have a horse in the race, but, let's call it up for what it is. You play in the Olympics, you're playing in Sweden, and 3 of the refs are Canadian, and you're playing Team Canada. And that was okay with Ron MacLean. I don't remember him being upset about it. It's an insult to francophones. It just goes to show deep down inside what these guys down the street from me right now really think about Quebec. It pisses them off that the Canadiens are the only Canadian team still competing right now. Deep down inside, Cherry and McLean will be pulling for the Bruins, the good old boys from Saskatchewan and whatever. It's funny, Ron MacLean, and I'm sorry to be popular me saying this, but I'm not a huge Ron MacLean guy. I think he's kind of hacky. He's like the red green of sports, in my opinion. But he's good at what he does. He's a great broadcaster. But like I say, he's just not my cup of tea. But you ever notice, any player he ever references, he knows what freaking farm these kids grew up on. He knows what elementary school they went to in good old Alberta. Never mentions anything from Quebec. He's never Marty Brodeur he's from Henri Bourassa area. He's from the east end of Montreal. Never. They're biased. They don't like Quebec. It is what it is. And, they don't even hide it.
Chatting with Gabriel Morency, of course, SportsRageTV.com, SportsRage on Twitter. Mo.
Gabe, Toronto Raptors finally winning the first playoff game in 6 years almost, to be exact here. Your thoughts on them being the Brooklyn Nets. Do they have a chance to win this series and potentially move on to the second round?
Well, I tell you what, they would have a chance if they weren't playing against 8 guys instead of 5 guys with the officials. It's pretty clear. Listen, ABC don't want the Toronto Raptors on TV next week in the second round. And they won't have a choice because the Raptors will be playing the Miami Heat. And they won't have a choice. So they don't want that. Toronto is not an American market. The ratings, it doesn't matter if there's 4 million people in Canada watching or Toronto watching. It doesn't help ABC and it doesn't help ESPN. It doesn't help Disney. And, it's blatant. In game 1, Mo, in game 1, they had 1 foul called, and it was in garbage time with like 12 seconds left. So it wasn't even a shooting foul. Somehow the Brooklyn Nets didn't commit 1 foul in a physical fourth quarter of a game. It defies logic. Tonight it was the same crap. But to be honest, the Raptors don't get respect from the referees at all. The referees hate Kyle Lowry. They have all season long. The Raptors have been getting screwed all season long. I think Casey needs to snap and instead of Masai Ujiri saying F Brooklyn, he should say F the NBA and their crooked cronies because they're clearly trying to rig this. The Raptors dug down deep tonight. They're going to be in tough. I think they're a better team than the Nets are. The Raptors played nervous. They didn't play great tonight once again, but they found a way to get it done. The Raptors are a very good road team, so I think they can play in Brooklyn. But Adam Silver and his crony will make sure that Brooklyn and, the biggest market in America get into the second round. So Raptors are playing uphill, but, God bless them, man. These guys battle the Toronto Raptors. They got a ton of heart. They got to play uphill against the referees. They got to play uphill against the networks. Everybody just, everybody disrespects them, and they're a real good team. And I wish them the best, but they're in real tough when you consider the refs just have it in for them. And tonight, I saw people arguing this, saying, look, the Raptors shot 5 more free throws than the Nets. How can you say? Doesn't matter. The Raptors were also, not called. They got hacked about 50 times. The referees love Pierce. He's a Hall of Famer. They love Garnett. One thing with the Raptor fans, though, I don't know what this KG sucks deal is. Well, you're picking on Kevin Garnett. What did he ever do to Toronto? And why are you pissing him off? They just let him, maybe he won't play as well. Kevin Garnett's the last guy you want to motivate. I don't really understand that aspect of it, but I tell you, the city of Toronto is pretty electric, man. You got 10,000 people outside the arena the other game, but the only reason there was 10,000 people outside is because they couldn't afford to get inside.
It's Gabriel Morency joining us here on Game Points with Matthew Ross on TSN 690. Final question for you here, Gabriel. Baseball. I know you're better, obviously. Any trends, any teams that are good to you so far early in the season?
Well, no one's really stepped up yet, in Major League Baseball, Matt. There's been a lot of parity and teams sort of winning. If you look at the standings, nobody's really running away from anything. But a guy that, just today, actually, I was discussing the Carlos Gomez stuff and is there unwritten rules in baseball, et cetera. But I'll tell everybody to keep your eye on this. People don't often talk about the fifth, guy in the rotation on the Kansas City Royals on radio shows, but Yordano Ventura, this guy's the second coming of Pedro Martinez. All right, he throws at 103 miles an hour. The other day he threw 46 pitches at 99 or faster. His changeup is 90 miles an hour. His cutter is 98 miles an hour. And the kid can bring the heat. Now, he got lit up the other day, but he's been rock solid so far. So, for all you old school Expo fans, you want to see the new Pedro Martinez, Yordano Ventura. He's the kid here.
All right, well, Gabriel, if you're up later, speaking of the Expos, Jonah Carey will be on Late Night with Seth Meyers tonight. So, talking about his Expo book, actually, probably sometime between 1 and 1:30. So, just thought I'd throw that out there for you.
Jonah Carey's big time right now. It's nice to see him carry the Expos torch like he is right now. And as well as Eugenie Bouchard. I got to say too, she looked pretty damn good in that picture as well. When she said she wanted to date Bieber when she was winning matches there, I was like, I don't know if I can support this girl, even though she's from Montreal. I can't support anyone that supports Bieber. But when I saw how good she looked in the Expos hat, I give her 2 thumbs up.
Couldn't agree with you more. SportsRageTV.com, SportsRage on Twitter, or check out FantasySportsNetwork.com. Gabriel's on there 3 o'clock weekdays. And what time for the Fight Network for your MMA Meltdown?
Tomorrow night at 11 o'clock on the Fight Network. Thursday we're going to have a good one. Bomani Jones, who you see on ESPN often, is going to be with us. And we'll be back on Off the Record next Thursday on OTR. I believe it's May 1st. Next Thursday, Off the Record.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Hey, always a pleasure, guys.